This is Arthur. He's 64 years old. He's sharp, he's active, and he genuinely cares about his health. He takes his vitamins. He tries to walk every evening, and he never misses his annual checkup. But here's what Arthur doesn't know. Every single morning, within the first 30 minutes of waking up, Arthur is making 3 specific mistakes that are quietly, systematically sabotaging his brain health. And the scariest part? He thinks these habits are perfectly harmless. If you're over 60, what you do in those first 30 minutes after opening your eyes can either protect your cognitive function for decades to come, or accelerate the fog, the forgetfulness, and the fatigue that so many people just accept as a normal part of aging. It is not normal. And today we're going to walk through Arthur's morning, step by step, so you can see exactly where things go wrong, and more importantly, exactly how to fix them. Let's start from the very beginning. It's 6:30 in the morning. The alarm goes off. Arthur opens his eyes, and the very first thing he does, before he even sits up, before his feet touch the floor, is reach for his phone on the nightstand. Sound familiar? We all do it. It seems harmless enough. Just checking the time, maybe glancing at a few notifications, but from a neurological standpoint, this is mistake number 1. And it's a big one. Here's why. When you wake up, your brain goes through something called the cortisol awakening response. This is a natural thing. Healthy spike in cortisol, a stress hormone that helps transition your brain from sleep mode to wakefulness. It's essentially your brain's natural starter motor. Under normal circumstances, this cortisol rises gradually over the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking, bringing you to a state of calm alertness. But when Arthur grabs his phone and immediately starts scrolling through emails, he's not news headlines, social media notifications, and text messages. He's not allowing that natural process to unfold. Instead, he's flooding his brain with information urgency and often stress. A work email that needs a response. A news headline about something alarming. A social media post that makes him feel inadequate. Each one of these inputs triggers an additional cortisol release on top of the already elevated morning level. The result is a cortisol spike that is far higher and far sharper than what your brain is designed to handle at 6:30 in the morning. And here's what that does over time. Chronic repeated cortisol spikes, especially first thing in the morning, have been shown in multiple studies to affect the hippocampus, the region of your brain that is absolutely critical for memory formation and recall. The hippocampus is particularly vulnerable to cortisol because it has a high density of cortisol receptors. When cortisol stays elevated for prolonged periods, it actually begins to shrink the hippocampus. This is why people who experience chronic stress often report memory problems, difficulty concentrating, and brain fog. Arthur isn't just feeling stressed in the morning. He is quite literally subjecting his memory center to repeated neurological damage day after day, week after week, year after year. And there's a second layer to this problem. When you look at your phone in bed, you're also exposing your eyes to blue light before your brain has fully transitioned out of sleep mode. This interferes with the natural circadian signaling that helps regulate your energy throughout the day. Your brain gets confused. It's receiving light signals that say it's midday, but your body is still in a state of sleep inertia. This mismatch contributes to that groggy, disoriented feeling that many people experience for the first hour or two after waking up. Arthur thinks he's just a slow starter. In reality, his phone is hijacking his brain's natural wake-up sequence. So what's the fix? It's remarkably simple, but it requires discipline. Keep your phone out of arm's reach when you sleep. Put it in another room if you can, or at least across the bedroom. Give your brain those first 30 minutes to wake up naturally without the flood of digital input. If you need an alarm, use a dedicated alarm clock. If you're worried about emergency calls, most phones have settings that allow specific numbers to ring through. Even when Do Not Disturb is active, the point is your brain needs that buffer zone. It needs time to transition from sleep to wakefulness without being thrown into a state of fight or flight. This is one of the most important morning habits for seniors that directly impacts cognitive function, and it costs absolutely nothing to implement. Now let's move on. Arthur gets out of bed. He walks to the kitchen. And what's the first thing he reaches for? The coffee pot. He fills a large mug. takes that first warm, comforting sip, and leans against the counter, staring out the window. It feels good. It feels like a ritual. But this is mistake number 2, the caffeine trap. Here's what's happening inside Arthur's body. During 7 or 8 hours of sleep, you naturally lose water through breathing, through perspiration, and through normal metabolic processes. By the time you wake up, you are in a state of mild dehydration. Your blood volume is slightly reduced, which means the oxygen delivery to your brain is compromised. Your brain does about 75% water, and even a small drop in hydration. As little as 2% has been shown to impair cognitive performance, reduce concentration, slow reaction times, and increase the perception of fatigue. Your brain tissue literally shrinks when dehydrated. The connections between your neurons, your synapses, struggle to transmit signals efficiently. Now, what does Arthur do? He reaches for coffee, which contains caffeine, a known diuretic. A diuretic is a substance that signals your kidneys to release more water. So Arthur is taking a brain that is already dehydrated from a night of sleep, and he's actively pushing out the remaining fluid it desperately needs. It's like pouring water out of a bucket that's already half empty and wondering why the plants aren't growing. This is the root cause of that waking fog that Arthur can't seem to shake until noon. It's not just being slow to start, it's biochemical dehydration. And here's the kicker. That morning, coffee doesn't actually give Arthur energy. It masks his fatigue by blocking adenosine, a chemical that makes you feel sleepy. But it does nothing to address the underlying dehydration that's causing the fog in the first place. So by 10 or 11 in the morning, when the caffeine wears off, Arthur feels worse than he did when he woke up. He reaches for another cup, and the cycle continues. So what's the fix? It's not complicated. It's about replenishing what you lost overnight before you introduce anything else into your system. A large glass of water, about 16 to 20 ounces before that coffee, ever touches your lips. Room temperature is ideal because it's easier on your digestive system first thing in the morning. And here's a pro tip that makes a real difference. Add a tiny, tiny pinch of high-quality sea salt, like Celtic sea salt or Himalayan pink salt, to that water. The minerals in the salt, particularly sodium and trace minerals, help your cells absorb the water rather than just passing it right through your system. This is called improving cellular hydration, and it's the difference between drinking water and actually being hydrated. You should notice the difference within 20 minutes. The fog lifts. The energy returns naturally, not from a stimulant, but from giving your brain the raw material it needs to function properly. This is step 1 of basic morning habits for seniors that directly support brain health and cognitive longevity. Now let's move to mistake number 3. Arthur has had his coffee, he's dressed, he's moving through his morning, and now it's time for breakfast. Arthur is health conscious, so he doesn't grab a donut or a pastry. He goes for something he thinks is sensible. A bowl of cereal with low-fat milk, or maybe 2 slices of whole wheat toast with a little butter. Sounds reasonable, right? Here's the problem. Both of these breakfasts are almost entirely simple carbohydrates, and for someone over 60, this is a recipe for a blood sugar roller coaster that will sabotage your brain function for the rest of the day. Here's why this matters so much as we age. After 60, your insulin sensitivity naturally decreases. This means your body is less efficient at moving glucose from your bloodstream into your cells, where it can be used for energy. When Arthur eats a high carbohydrate breakfast, his blood sugar spikes sharply. His body responds by releasing a surge of insulin to bring that blood sugar back down. But because of his reduced insulin sensitivity, the insulin response is often exaggerated. It doesn't just bring blood sugar back to normal, it overshoots, causing a rapid drop in blood glucose that leaves the brain starved for fuel. This is what we call reactive hypoglycemia, and it's the reason Arthur feels sleepy, foggy, and unable to concentrate by mid-morning. Your brain is an incredibly energy-hungry organ. It weighs about 2% of your body weight, but consumes approximately 20% of your body's glucose. When your blood sugar crashes, your brain is the first organ to feel it. You experience confusion, irritability, difficulty finding words, and that heavy, lethargic feeling that makes you want to go back to bed. And here's the long-term danger. Repeated blood sugar spikes and crashes, day after day, year after year, don't just affect your morning energy. They contribute to insulin resistance in the brain itself, which researchers now believe is one of the primary drivers of Alzheimer's disease. In fact, some neurologists have begun referring to Alzheimer's as type 3 diabetes because the brain's inability to properly utilize glucose appears to be a central factor in the disease. So Arthur's healthy cereal and his whole wheat toast are not just making him tired, they are over time contributing to the very neurological decline he's trying to prevent. The fix here is to dramatically reduce simple carbohydrates at breakfast and replace them with high-quality protein and healthy fats. Eggs are one of the best breakfast foods for brain health. They're rich in choline, a nutrient that your brain uses to produce acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter critical for memory and learning. Add some avocado for healthy monounsaturated fats that support brain cell membrane integrity. A small handful of walnuts provides omega-3 fatty acids, which have been shown in numerous studies to support cognitive function and reduce inflammation in the brain. If you prefer a plant-based option, a breakfast of full-fat Greek yogurt with berries and a sprinkle of chia seeds provides protein, antioxidants, and omega-3s without the carbohydrate crash. The key principle is this: you want to start your day with stable, sustained energy, not a sugar spike followed by a crash. Your brain thrives on stability. It needs a steady, reliable source of fuel, not a roller coaster. Now let me bring this all together. Let me show you what Arthur's morning looks like after he makes these changes. Arthur wakes up at 6:30. His phone is in the kitchen, not on his nightstand. He lies in bed for a few minutes, takes a few deep breaths, and allows his brain to transition naturally from sleep to wakefulness. He gets up, walks to the kitchen, and the first thing he does is pour himself a large glass of water with a tiny pinch of Celtic sea salt. He drinks it slowly, standing by the window, letting the morning light in. No phone, no emails, no news. Just water, light, and a few minutes of quiet. After about 20 minutes, he makes his coffee. But now, the water has already begun rehydrating his brain tissue, restoring blood volume and improving oxygen delivery. The coffee is a pleasant addition, not a desperate attempt, to mask dehydration. Then for breakfast, Arthur makes 2 eggs with half an avocado and a small handful of walnuts. Stable protein, healthy fats, and minimal carbohydrates. His blood sugar stays flat. His brain has the fuel it needs. And by mid-morning, instead of fighting through a fog of fatigue and brain fog, Arthur feels alert, focused, and sharp. These are not dramatic interventions. They don't require prescriptions, supplements, or expensive treatments. They are foundational, evidence-based adjustments that take advantage of your body's natural physiology. And the research backs this up. Studies have shown that proper morning hydration improves cognitive performance by up to 14% in older adults. Reducing morning cortisol spikes through phone-free mornings has been linked to better memory consolidation and reduced anxiety, and stabilizing blood sugar through low-carbohydrate, high-protein breakfast has been shown to improve attention and executive function throughout the entire day. If you're over 60, your brain is more vulnerable than it was at 30, but it's also more responsive to the right inputs. The margin for error is smaller, which means the payoff for getting it right is bigger. These 3 changes: keeping your phone out of the first 30 minutes, drinking water before coffee, and eating protein instead of carbohydrates for breakfast are the highest leverage actions you can take to protect your cognitive function as you age. Now, if this resonated with you, I want you to do 2 things. First, try this tomorrow morning. Just one day. Water before coffee, phone in another room. Protein for breakfast. See how you feel by noon. I think you'll be surprised. Second, I've put together a full comprehensive guide on morning habits for seniors that directly impact cognitive function and longevity. It's linked right here in the description. Go watch that now. And if this video helped you, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more evidence-based health tips for a sharper, healthier future, and leave a comment below telling me which of the 3 mistakes you're most guilty of. I read every single one. Take care of your brain. It's the only one you've got.